All right, second section. It's the same kind of stuff. But in that first section, in section 01, we went from the metric, and we converted to the metric again, didn't we? We converted, like, I don't know, give me an example. We went from like centimeters to meters, right? Or kilometers. Everything was from the metric system to the metric system, all right? You did like kilograms to grams, right? Everything stayed in the metric system, or everything stayed in the what? What was the other system we call it? The English system, okay? It went from the English to the English system. All right, so everything stayed within that system that we did yesterday. Everything stayed within this system. Guess what we're doing today?
Metric.
That's right. We're going metric to English, or what? English to metric, okay? So that's what we're doing today. It's kind of like this crossover, right? So here's the metric system, right? Give me one example of something in the metric system. Meters, okay? So let's say you have meters, and we're going to change it to something in the English system. Give me a unit of length in the English system. To yards, right? So we might change from meters to what? To yards. You see it? But we got to know some stuff, all right? You got to know some of those conversions. You got to know how many meters in a yard, or how many inches in a centimeter, and that kind of stuff. All right? So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm just going to write some of these down. These are all in the book. Let me flip the right page here. They're all in the book. It's on the next page. Just flip the next page. All right, 02. Look at section 02. And I'm going to list these things, and you write them down, and then we'll do a couple examples with them. Here's the big one. This is like the main one. You can actually, at least with length, you can work with this one and do any of the length problems at all. But they'll give you more. But this is like the main one right here. 1 inch. 1 inch equals about 2.5 centimeters. Okay. Let me grab this ruler and put it right here. Let me just show you on this ruler. Look where 1 inch is. See, there's 0 and there's 1. So from here to here is 1 inch. Here's centimeters right on top of it. It lines up, so that's 0 centimeters. Approximately, look at it. Approximately how many centimeters equals 1 inch? 2.5, right? 2.5. See, that lines up pretty close to that, doesn't it? Now, I taught out of another book that they'd always say 2.54. They were a little bit more specific, 2.54. But this book just rounds it a little bit, and they just say 2.5. All right, and that's good enough for us. All right, so about 2.5 centimeters equals 1 inch. So what's bigger? Is an inch bigger, or is a centimeter bigger? An inch, right? It takes 2.5 of these things just to make up 1 inch. So 1 inch has to be bigger than a centimeter. Make sense? Yes, Mr. Hamrick, it does. Thanks for responding. All right, here we go. 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters. Now let's do some more. Now really, on length, all you need to know is that one right there. That's like the important one right there. But I'm going to give you some other ones that come in handy, and you don't have to do as many steps. Let's do the inverse of this. Instead of 1 inch equals how many centimeters, let's go 1 centimeter equals how many inches. It's just the inverse of this. If you put 1 divided by 2.5 in your calculator, you would get 0.4 inches. They're inverses of each other. Okay? So 1 centimeter is a little less than half an inch. All right, if you want to look at it that way. Let's do another one. 1 yard. 1 yard is 0.9 meters, approximately. It's not exactly, but it's approximately 0.9 meters. Remember we put the meter stick up the other day? Yesterday, I think, wasn't it? And we looked at a yard. A yard was a little shorter than a meter, wasn't it? Do you see that? Okay, so 1 yard is only 0.9 meters. It's not a whole meter, all right? It's less than a meter. Make sense? Now, we could take the inverse. What would we do here? Instead of 1 yard equals this many meters, we would go what? 1 meter equals, and if you take the inverse of that, it's about 1.1. When I say the inverse, 1 divided by 0.9, it's 1.1 yards. All right, so it's a little more than 1 yard is equal to 1 meter. This should make sense to you. All right, let's do miles. 1 mile equals about 1.6 kilometers. That's the number that I remember. This next one I don't really remember, but I remember this one. 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers. So you have to go a little more than 1.5 kilometers just to go 1 mile. So what's bigger? Miles bigger, right. A mile is bigger than a kilometer. So you got to go about 1.5 miles, a little more than 1.5, kilometers in order to go 1 mile. All right, what do you think we're going to do here? 1 what? Kilometer, good, equals, and you take the inverse of that, which would be around 0.6. Not exactly, but around 0.6 miles. Okay? So 1 kilometer is a little more than half a mile, if you want to think of it that way. All right? So 1 kilometer is a little more, just a little bit more than half a mile. Because what would half a mile be? 0.5, right. 0.6 is just a little bit more, right? There you go. So that's length. Let's write that down. That's the measurements of the length. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do what they call capacity or volume. Okay, I'll put volume right here. Alright, this is where we do the quarts and the gallons and all that kind of stuff, okay? And the liters, milliliters, that's volume, alright? This is what we're going to do right here. So now these numbers I don't have memorized at all, but you don't have to, because remember I said on the test and quiz, I'll have them all written down for you. So 1 quart equals 0.9 liters. Now they use a capital L. I always use a lowercase l for liters. I don't know why, but I've always done that. So I'm going to use a lowercase. Is that alright with you? You'll see a capital letter in the book, but I use a lowercase. And then if you go 1 liter, that's equal to 1.1 quarts. Again, you're just doing the inverse of that. That number looks familiar, doesn't it? We use that same number up above there. Okay. Uh-oh. No phones in school, right? Except I'm a teacher. It's a little different. Alright, so let's do another one. 1 pint equals about half a liter. Again, this is not exact, but it's kind of close. Right? And then let's do it the other way around. 1 liter equals how many pints? About 2.1. It's not an exact inverse of this, because the exact inverse of this would be a 2, but it's 2.1 pints. Alright. Now, with all this said, with all these conversions, you should be able to go from one to the other just by looking at these conversions. Again, you don't have to have them memorized. That's a nice thing. I'm not making you memorize these things. You'll have a chart on the test. On your homework, you either look at the book or you look in your notes, whatever is easier for you. That's volume, okay? I think that's all they have for that one. Let's go weight. How heavy something is, or mass. In science, we use the word mass more than we would say weight, but they kinda mean the same thing. And we won't get into that. So, an ounce. We talked about an ounce earlier today. So 1 ounce is equal to approximately 28.3 grams. There's no way I had that memorized. I would definitely have to look in a chart or something. And there it is. 1 ounce is 28.3 grams. So an ounce is actually pretty big, isn't it, compared to a gram? Gram's pretty small. It takes 28 grams just to make 1 ounce. So grams are pretty small. Let's do it the other way. Let's go the inverse. 1 gram is, now remember, a gram is really small, so it's a very small portion of an ounce. And it's approximately 0.04 ounces. It's not exact, but it's close. And we got one more to do. Pounds. We talked about pounds earlier. So 1 pound, LB, that's what that's supposed to be, is around half a kilogram. It's not exactly half, but it's about half a kilogram. Let's go kilograms. 1 kilogram. Now this is a number that I have memorized. It's a pretty common knowledge kind of a thing. 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So what's bigger? Is a kilogram bigger or is a pound bigger? Pound, is a pound bigger? Let's think about this. A pound is half, right? To have, it's only half a kilogram is 1 pound. But look, 1 kilogram, it takes 2.2 pounds just to make 1 kilogram. Okay, so 2.2 pounds to make 1 kilogram. Anybody here from another country? Like you're actually lived in another country? No, none of you guys are. Stop. Nah, because I had but anyway, if you ask one of the Virgin Island guys, or yeah, ask one of those guys, or even ask the Canadians. Ask them what they weigh. My guess is, now they may say pounds because they know you don't understand kilograms, but if you were in Canada or if you were in the Virgin Islands or really any other country and you asked how much you weighed, they probably, my guess is, they would give their weight in kilograms and not in pounds. Okay? So it would be a lower number, right? It would be about half of what their weight in pounds would be. All right. Actually, when I was in Australia, we measured our weight in stones. Right? I remember when I was a kid. I was a little kid. I was 5 stones, I think. I have no idea what that is. I don't even know the conversion of that. But they may say stones. Ask them and find out. Especially the Canadians. Ask them. I don't know if they measure their weight in kilograms or stones. I'm not really sure. When my kids were born, this was back 20 years ago. When my kids were born, they put them on the scale, and the scale came up in kilograms. It didn't even say what their weight was in pounds, and she had to look on a chart. I took video. I was taking video, right? And so they took the baby, they put him on the scale. The scale came out. It was a digital scale. It wasn't that long ago, and it came out in kilograms. And I was like, well, how much does he weigh? I couldn't do it in my head. So they went over to the chart, and they looked at the chart, and you're like, oh, he weighs this many pounds. So that was kind of interesting. So that was in America. It wasn't in Australia. It wasn't in Canada or anything. That was Christiana Hospital, and they were doing that. So they probably still do that. All right. What time's this class over? 38. Wow. I only got about 2 minutes. Let's do a quick example right here. Sure we do. We always have homework.
I don't think it's necessary.
It is. Okay, it's not necessary to complain about it, because remember, we had to talk about this, didn't we? Apparently nobody remembers what I talked about the first day of class. No complaining about homework. I said expect it, didn't I? Remember I said that? I said expect the homework. Don't complain about having it. Don't complain about how much of it. Don't complain about any of that stuff, because I'll double it if you want. There's a lot more problems in there that I could give you. Okay? So try me. Mess with me. Go ahead. All right? I'll have the last laugh. All right? That's right. Because it doesn't bother me if I give you more homework. All right, look at it. So we put 58.5 kilograms. We're changing it to pounds. So what do? We look up here for pounds and kilograms. Now look, I'm going to put kilograms down here. I could either use this one or I could use this one. It really doesn't make any difference which one you use. Right? Put pounds. Which one do you want to use? I'd probably put 1 kilogram here, just so I don't have to divide it. I think it's easier to multiply. So if I put 1 kilogram here, what would I put up here? 2.2. Right? Everybody see that? I could have gone the other way. I could have put 1 pound, but then what would I have to put on the bottom? 0.5 kilograms. Okay? Now these numbers, depending on how you do it, are not going to work out exactly the same, because the inverse of 2.2 is not exactly 0.5, but it should come out kind of close. So what do? This. Now is this something you can do easy in your head? Nope. I'd put it in a calculator, and you'd probably get around 128.7. So use a calculator for that. Multiply them together. 58.5 times 2.2. You'll get something around here. It may not be exactly this, but it will be close. It'll be very, very close to that. It's basically the same thing, except look what you're doing. You're going from metric to what? English. That's really the only difference. So I just gave you a bunch more conversions to do, and it's really the same kind of thing as what we did earlier. So here's what you're going to do. Your homework is section 02, and it's page P7. I'm not starting over. It's right up on the board. Come on now. It's 1 to 18. That's your homework right there. Look at that. Right on time.